All right, volunteers, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to come to right next to staging where we have all of the clipboards and the game sheets ready to go for you. They're all laid out 1 through 25 for our courts. You would come to it, you'd get your first clipboard, and it's going to have in there which division you're getting, which court you're at, and the time of this game. And then we have the names of the teams and who's playing. So right now, if I was the court 5 person at the 9:50 game, I'd pick this up and it'd be the Kearney team of Dave and Nate versus the West Point team of Madeline and Glenn. You would then walk right over to the staging part, which is very close to where you picked this up at. You'd say, I'm here for the court 5, the 9:50 game. I'm looking for the Kearney athletes, Dave and Nate, West Point athletes, Madeline and Glenn. They will then get those athletes for you. All those athletes should have a sticker on them, a name tag that will have the delegation name, Kearney in this case, and then their name so you can match them up with when you take them back to the court. This is very important because sometimes you'll have 2 delegations having teams playing against each other. So you might have 2 Kearney teams or 2 Grand Island teams. You want to make sure that you have the right 2 on each side of the board so you don't mix them up. The other thing about your clipboard is you're already going to have a predetermined color for your bags. So the Kearney team is going to play the red bags. The West Point team is going to play the black bags. When you get them to their court, you have 2 of the athletes out of the 4. You're going to have the 2 either captains or anyone, and you just pick one of them to call which side of the bag they're going to do, and that's how we're going to do a coin flip. If you have a coin, we can do a coin flip. If you don't, the bags work just fine. I would suggest using the black bags because there's a large logo and there's a small logo. For the red bags, the logos are very similar in size, so it's very difficult to determine which one they're picking, but you can ask the athlete or the unified partner, would you like the large logo or the small logo?
Small.
Small logo, and then you just flip it. It comes up small logo. That was the large one. There's the small one. Now this team gets to choose whether they would like to throw first or second, or which side of the board they want to line up on. Madeline, which side would you like, or would you like to throw first or second? So Madeline has chosen to throw first, which means the other team, Caitlin, now gets to choose the side of the boards that they will be throwing from. It's important to note that they will be across from each other on the same team. So which side of the board would your team like to throw from?
I'll stand on the left.
So they'll be on the left side here. So Madeline will be on this side. So it's important to note that Caitlin's teammate will be on this side then. When they throw, Madeline's teammate will be here, and we'll have them just stand back so they're not affecting any of the throws. If they're up here near the board watching and it hits them, it could go on the board, or if they stand behind it, they're basically a backboard. So we'd like them to just kind of stay out of the way, not get hit by any of the bags, not impact the game at all. We've already determined that Madeline throws first. In Cornhole, we are alternating back and forth the throws. So it's going to go black, red, black, red, black, red, till all 8 bags have been thrown. It's important to know that when the game starts, you should have a stopwatch on you or use your phone for a timer. Either way, games are 20 minutes. So we have them scheduled 25 minutes apiece. So that gives you 5 minutes for the team to leave and the new team to come on, and you to flip the bags to get them ready. But the game should go to 21 points or over, or 20 minutes, whichever comes first. I know when we play a lot of backyard bags, if you go over 21, you go back down. That's not how it works here. It's the first team to 21 or over, or 20 minutes. All right, Madeline, throw your first bag. Caitlin. Madeline. Caitlin. Madeline. Caitlin. Madeline. And finally, Caitlin. So, since we're doing doubles, they would stay here. Their partners would be back here, not interfering with any of the throws. They should be behind the board. In the off chance that the bag perhaps hits them and falls on the board, we'll get to faults in a minute. But we're going to take this count now as we start. In Cornhole, all of the scoring is done by cancellation scoring. So we look at the board here and we determine there are 4 red bags, 1 black bag. So those would cancel themselves out. We now know the score would be red 3. I would go to my score sheet. I look at the red bags part. Frame 1, there are 3 points for them, running total 3. Black bags have 0 points, 0. So heading on right now, it is 3-0, red. Red would then throw first going back because they won the last frame. It would not be Madeline and Caitlin throwing, it would be their partners. So they would then step in. Madeline and Caitlin would step back out of the box, and then we would play going back the other direction with alternating, but red throwing first. So it's important to note that they do not switch sides. Madeline stays on the same side, so her partner would be directly across from her. Same with Caitlin. We're not flip-flopping sides. You don't get to choose after that. Once we do the initial start of the game, that's the side that your team stays on the whole time. Some things to look out for would be a fault. So that would be stepping on the line when you throw or stepping over the line after you throw. That would be considered a fault if you can show where the bag ended up. Okay, the bag is considered what we call a non-impacting bag at this time. It is not on the board, so it won't impede any of the scoring. We can leave the bag off of the board because it is not going to come into effect for any of the scoring moving forward. Throw a bag, please. You don't have to fault, just throw it. Okay. Fault again if you don't mind. Go ahead. All right, the next one. Okay. So we'll say that was a fault. She stepped on it. The bag is on the board. It is a very easily removed bag because it's not touching anything. So you would have Caitlin hold up for a second. You would then take this bag off of the board because we don't want it impeding any scoring. It might get knocked in later or something like that because there's a fault. That's off the board. We can now continue playing with a clean board. Go ahead. Okay, all bags have been thrown. We now come to the board. There's only 2 bags on the board. This would be a cancellation score. So we would go with a 0, 0. We're still at 3 and 0 for our scoring. Since the last team to actually score a point were the red bags, when we head back the other direction, the red bags would be first to throw again. Sometimes with our athletes, they can't make it to the board and you end up with a lot of bags that are short. Those are all basically dead bags. They don't count in the scoring. If a bag is thrown and before it hits the board, it perhaps hits and rolls up on the board. If it hits the ground first, that's considered a dead bag. If you're safe to remove it, let's please remove it. Let's remove it to the side or the back if you can. You can leave these ones that have been played right where they are, because in the off chance a bag comes, hits here, and then slides back and hangs on like that, that's still considered a point. It's not touching the ground, it's touching another bag. So that is considered still a good point. Another thing would be if they throw it and it lands on this bag and goes up, that again is a good point because it hasn't actually hit the ground. So that's why we don't want to just throw dead bags in the front. Any of these hangers that are hanging off the front and they're just touching that bag, those are all good points. These are the bags that I talked about before were non-impacting bags that perhaps hit the ground, popped up. It was really easy to figure out which ones to take off. We pull those off. If it is an impacting bag, this is where kind of more penalties come into play. So if, for instance, the bag, there's a foot fault and the bag comes and lands maybe there where it's touching another bag, you do not want to remove that bag, because in the off chance that you go to move it and you have something slide out of the way, or it's no longer in the position it was in, now you've affected the game. So we literally will leave that bag on there, knowing at the end that's a faulted bag. We will take the highest point value off of the board for that penalty. So if red, only at the end, if we're counting and red has these ones here, so it would be literally 1, 2, 3. We said this one was still good because it is not touching the ground, it's just touching the other bag. We would say that would be 3 points red, 2 points black, but we're penalizing red for their highest one because of a penalty. So it's 2 and 2. It would be a 0 score for this. If for some reason red had won in the hole when we were counting, they lose 3 points for that. So it would be these 2 red, those 2 black, we still cancel out. So those are how you handle what we consider impacting bags. You don't want to move any of the bags that are touching other ones in the off chance it moves stuff. And where you really run into an issue is around the hole if they're all kind of like this, and then you get an impacting bag that's laying right here, and you're like, I really want to take that off, and you end up knocking stuff in. It's really hard for you to then kind of put this back where it was and kind of guess. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to have any influence on the game. We'll just take the count later and remove the highest score.